That's right. Welcome again to Social Studies, the fundamentals right here at Academic Wave, where smart is the new cool. Again, this is the third week, our final week, day 2, where we're going to be working on developing questions for our final. Here we go. Let me get right. Here we go. Now we're going to get ready for our questions, and we're going to develop questions for your final project coming up this week. We're going to end on Zoom on Thursday. So we had yesterday where we talked about sources and coming up with a topic. Today we're going to develop questions. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how to make all of this connect. So right now I want you to come in, and you know how we get down here. Let's do the roll call. If you are here and able to join us on chat, please, by all means, write your name, write your grade, write your city, write whatever it is you would like to represent. Also, you can put an emoji on there. Y'all know when I see that, I get inspired and I'm hyped up and I'm juiced already. So here we go. Let's get it started. Roll call, and we'll get started in about 1 minute. Here we go. What's going on, Zoe? I see you in the house. 6th grade in the house. Houston in the house. I also want to recognize the people that are not able to join the chat. Thank you. I get your messages. I get your emails. Thank you. Even if you're not able to comment on the chat, we appreciate it. Okay, we have Rita in the building. There we go, representing Houston. All right. My main man, Carlos. What's going on, superstar? Here we go. We'd like to say hello to Logan and Grayson. That's right. So hello to Logan. Hello to Grayson. What's up, Caleb? 7th grade in the building. I see you. What's up, Shania? I see you. Here we go. Y'all can warm up with me. Y'all can warm up with me. Here we go. Y'all can warm up with me. Self-education is the best education. We are learning to read not only the word, but the world right here at Academic Wave. Here we go. Amaris and the fam bam. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and get started with today's lesson. I'm excited. I hope everyone here is as well. We are going to talk about our final projects that we're all doing for Thursday, because on Thursday you're going to present it as if you're the teacher. You're going to roll this out for us and present it in a way where we're not only learning history, we're doing history. All right, so let's go right into it. Let's get right on it today. Here we go. All right, so Social studies of fundamentals. Let's cover some things that we talked about yesterday. But to start off, I want to talk about where you can post your historical thinking journey. Where can you post this? Where should you put your pictures and your questions so that when it comes to Thursday, we'll be able to see it? Well, there are several things or several ways you can use, several things you can use to post your journey. Here, you can do it like I do. You can use PowerPoint if you like. Also, there's a software online called Prezi. You can even use Microsoft Word if you would like to paste, copy and paste your pictures as well as write your questions. And also, there are some websites called BlendSpace and BuzzFeed. You're able to use those. You can use those to go ahead and post your journey, post your images, post your artifacts, your primary sources. Remember, we're talking about primary sources. So what's up next? All right. So yesterday we talked about 3 things. Yesterday we went over 3 things that gets us ready for today. What are those 3 things? Well, very simply, we're going to think, or it was up to you to think of something that interests you, something in history, something that's normally not talked about, but you would like to know more about it, and you think we would like to know more about it. So that's one component of it. That's one element of it. Next, we want you to think of counter narratives. We want you to think of counter narratives when it comes to your story. Remember, windows, sliding glass doors, and mirrors, where we not only see a world, but we walk into a world and experience it, but we also see ourselves in that world, right? Next, we have where you select 5 primary sources. 5 primary sources for your journey box, okay? For your journey for us to take on, all right? So that's what we went over yesterday. Think of something that interests you, narratives and counter narratives, and also select 5 primary sources. Now today, we're going to go over developing questions. Ooh, this is going to be a good one. I promise y'all this is going to be good because I can't wait to see what we learn from what you develop yourself. Here we go. Bam. So remember, history, the point of this is not only to learn history, but to do history. We're not telling you what to think. We're just allowing the opportunity to think. So when it comes to developing questions, there are 3 components. There are 3 things I want you to think about when it comes to developing your question for your source. All right, here we go. For developing questions, right here, write at least 1 question per primary source. 1 question per primary source. Okay, now you can have 2 or 3 or even 4, but at least have 1 per source that you use. All right, bet. Here we go. We on to the next one. On to the next one. Here we go. Now another thing about your questions, you want to have how, who, what, when, where, why, and if/are questions. So in other words, you want to avoid questions that can be answered by yes and no. You want to avoid questions that can be answered by yes and no. And how do you do that? You can begin your questions with these words. All right, there we go. So at least 1 question per primary source. And for the questions, avoid yes or no questions, and you can use how, who, what, when, where, why, if, and are questions. All right, that was a mouthful, but we're gonna go to the next one. Here we go. And your questions have us think about what we are looking at, right? These are questions that can be answered by looking at what the source is. This is some good stuff. I don't know if y'all know, this is some good stuff. So you're going to develop one question per primary source, and you're going to have 5 primary sources. Then the question should begin with these words: avoid yes or no questions, and also have your questions, have them make us think about what we're looking at. Have us think deeper about what we're looking at. All right, now here we go. Oh, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. Let's do a couple of practice questions, and we'll start off, for instance, with Rosa Parks. Now, we showed some primary sources. Now, remember, in the textbooks in class, a lot of times we get information that people have already sort of interpreted for us. But here, we don't want to just learn it. We want to actually do the history ourselves. It's almost like you're becoming a detective. You're becoming a historian. You are the researcher. You are the scholar. You are the professor. You are the educator. So you're not listening to what other people are saying. You are actually looking at the information for yourself. And that's what you want us to do, so that we think critically about the world around us. All right? So here we go. Now here's some questions. Here's some practice questions for this source. All right? Now we look right there. You can see yesterday we showed that this is a primary source, or an example of a primary source. And this is the mugshot of Rosa Parks. Now I want you to think to yourself, and even if you'd like to put in the chat room, what are some questions, right? What are some questions that you can ask that would have people think about this picture? What are some questions beginning with who, how, what, when, where, why? What are some questions that you would have for us just by looking at this picture? Now, since this is practice, not only are I'm gonna look at the chat room or comments to see what you come up with, and there's a little delay, so forgive me if I come up with some a little later. But I also wanted to provide some examples of questions that you can have for your own journey project. Here we go. So here is an example of a question that you can ask. What is happening in this picture? Right? Yes, Zoe. How long is she staying in jail? Right? How long is she staying? That was a great question. Another question could be, how do you think she feels? Right? That is another question that you can have people to understand the context of this better, right? Also, why do you think she is here? Right? And these are questions that are not telling us what to think. They're just providing the opportunity for us to think. Okay? This is awesome. All right, here we go. What else do we have here? Who would you compare Rosa Parks to today? Right? So this is an example of how you would do your historical thinking project, where this is a primary source, right? This isn't the textbook. This is something, it's a source. It's a source of information, and you can write at least one question, if not more. All right? Oh man, this is good. Okay. Okay, Dolores, I see you. Okay, Rachel, Wildcats in the house. Okay, D, I see you. Here we go. Next up, let's go to another practice question. Let's go to another practice session right quick. This is good. I hope this is helping us out. Bam. Woo, Tupac Shakur's poetry. So say you wanted to do a historical thinking project on Tupac Shakur, and you wanted to present what we talked about, a counter narrative. So many people just know about his entertainment, or rapping ability, but many people don't know about his poetry, right? Which he used to do even before rapping. So let's look at a primary source, right? A primary source of Tupac Shakur's poetry and how we can present different questions for it. Here we go. Now, this is an example of a primary source. And the name of this poem by Tupac is called In the Event of My Demise. So, some questions. There we go. There we go. Lois already coming in with one. Why was he? I got too hyped because I was thinking about Tupac being in jail. Yes, but even with Rosa Parks, right? We're still having questions come in that attaches to the source before. And that's the great thing about this project, right? The great thing about this is it's not stagnant. History is not stagnant. History doesn't just sit. You keep learning about history, just like we're learning more about Michael Jordan. There have been documentaries coming out every Sunday about Michael Jordan, and we're learning more and more about it. So history isn't something that's just in the past and we forget about. It's steadily revealing itself, right? So let's go back to Tupac right quick. What can you think about? What questions, when you look at his poem, can you ask? Even if you read it, take a second to read what Tupac wrote in this poem entitled In the Event of My Demise. Exactly, Amaris. A great question is, who's his audience when reading the poem? Exactly. We have some superstars in here. We have some superstar intellectuals in here today. So let's go to the first one. An example of one, right? There are millions of questions you can ask, but here are just examples along with the one Amaris just had for us. So what does demise mean, right? Also, what do you think, or why do you think Tupac is even thinking of his demise, right? That's a question that'll have someone really think. Why would someone so young already be thinking about their demise? Oh, this is good. Okay, what else do we have here? Bam. What principle or belief do you think Tupac wants to be remembered for? Because if you see right here, it states, I hope I died for a principle or a belief that I had lived for. What principle or belief do you think Tupac wants to be remembered for, right? So these are all questions that are not yes or no, but allow us to think more about the source, allow us to think more, not just about the source, but also the world during that time and the world we're living in right now. Okay, we are moving and grooving, all right? Bam. What else do we have? All right, practice questions. So here is an example of a primary source, another example of a primary source. And here we're talking about a group and an organization called the Black Panther Party. Now, if you see here, this is a primary source. This is a primary source. And this primary source is an advertisement. And there are a bunch of questions that you can ask, right, with this. So I want you to think about what are some questions that you would have or that you would have us to think about when it comes to looking at this flyer, to looking at this advertisement. If you read it and look at it, what are some things that you would have us to think about just by looking at this what? Primary source. One that I came up with, an example, is why do you think they would be giving away free groceries? If you look at the top, 10,000 free bags of groceries, right? Why would they be even giving out free bags of groceries at that time, right? That allows us to think about the world then and the world now. We're going to get to it. Here we go. So remember, we are doing history, not just learning history. What's an example of another question? What do you think a survival conference is? Right here you see Black Community Survival Conference, March 29th, 30th, 31st of 1972. What do you think a survival conference means, or what is that? Exactly, Zoe. How long ago was this? Right? You can answer that question by looking at the source, right? All the questions you want to ask has to be answered by the source. What's another example? What does the advertisement tell you about the community at the time? What does this advertisement tell you about the community at the time? Remember, this allows us this allows us to think. We're not telling you what to think. You're not going to tell us what to think. You're just going to provide the opportunity for it. All right? Ooh, this is good. Okay. All right. Bam. One more practice, and then we're going to move on to the last bit of the class. This is good. The Spanish flu of 1918. The Spanish flu of 1918. And remember, we're learning not just to understand history, but to understand what is going on today. All right? So if you look at this picture, this is a primary source again. Remember, pictures and images of that time can be primary sources. So if we're looking at this primary source, what questions can you ask to have us think about when we look at this? Amaris, I also see the question that you had for the one prior to this one. Thank y'all for the participation. This is awesome. I love it. I love it. Here we go. So when we look at the Spanish flu of 1918 and we look at this primary source, what questions could you ask? Here's an example. Why do you think people are wearing masks? There you go, Miss Williams. Exactly. What did they do to get through? Exactly. Why? And then we have Zoe coming in. Why do they have masks? And then we have Amaris coming in. Who was the flu impacting the most? Ooh, I'm telling you, right? This is what makes history incredible. This is what makes history amazing and more exciting and less boring, because it's not just something way back in history. It's something that you're connecting to now. These are excellent questions. Excellent. Let me add on to this. Here's an example. Look at the sign. Do you think people should go to jail if they don't wear a mask? Because you see right here it says wear a mask or go to jail. Ain't that right, D? History truly does repeat itself, right? This isn't nothing new. It's nothing new under the sun. So here we go. So do you think people should go to jail if they don't wear a mask? Again, we're not telling you what to think. We're just asking you to think. This is how you have students and everyone read the world, okay? Bam, let's also see and tie it together. How does this compare to today? How does this compare to today? Right? The history tells us more about today and tomorrow than it just does the past. So these are examples, right, of when you can use primary sources and use questions that are not yes or no, but who, what, when, why, how, if, are. These are questions that allow us to read history critically. All right? Oh, this is good. Okay, so just quick review. Here we go. I'm enjoying this. This is awesome. Last thing before we go. So to cover what we've done so far for our final project, we are going to choose a topic. Choose a topic. Select 5 primary sources. And remember, the topic you choose is of your selection. It doesn't matter. Whatever topic you would like to. And students don't have to just do this as well. Everybody is included here at Academic Wave. Everybody is included within this class, all right? So you can choose your topic, anything that's interesting to you that you think we need to know more about, especially if it was not taught in class. Then you're going to select 5 primary sources. Primary sources could be letters, diaries, images, posters, so forth and so on, right? Then you're going to develop at least 1 question per source. You can have more, but at least 1 question per source. So that's what we did yesterday. The topic, you selected your sources, and today after class, I simply would like for you to develop at least 1 question per source. All right? So that's what we're having today. Now, I also want to show, because a lot of times we can't cover everything within the 30 minutes of class. So I wanted to show and wanted to cover a couple of things beyond class that you can go to and check out for you to work on while we're not here. All right? Bam! If you go to Academic Wave website, if you go to the website, all right, and if you go to the Social Studies course, click on the Social Studies course, and you go down here, there are examples. We have 3 examples of historical thinking journeys, right? 3 examples. So we'll go, here is 1 example. And they use Blend-Space. Remember, you can use any of those that we talked about before. Prezi, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, or BuzzFeed or Blend-Space. Here, they use Blend-Space. And this is someone that did their project on Angela Davis, right? And so if you would like, you can go through this and see examples of what a historical thinking journey looks like. And tomorrow, what we're going to work on is how to make the connections. And that's with the introduction, the index, and the summary. But today, we're still working on our sources and questions. Also, if you go back, we'll have, boom, here's another example of a historical thinking journey. And this talks about the Chicano movement at the time, right? The history they skipped over. If you go through this, they did theirs on BuzzFeed. They used BuzzFeed for theirs. And here you see the source and the questions. Here you see the source, right? This was an image displayed around restaurants at the time. All right? So the source and the questions, right? And instead of Jim Crow, they accommodated a system known as One Crow. Ain't that something? Wow. Then we continue, right? Here's another example of a primary source, which is a news article at the time. So these are just examples. I'm going to go back towards the Academic Wave site. These are examples that you can use in order to sort of like give you some examples, give you a template, give you structure to how at the end of this, your historical thinking journey will look. And not last but not least, on that same page, we have where the Zoom presentation will be. And all you have to do is simply click on here on Thursday. If you click here on Thursday, this will take you to our Zoom meeting, because we're not going to be on YouTube on Thursday. We're going to be on Zoom so people can present the historical thinking journeys to everyone, and we'll be able to see, acknowledge, and give it up for your incredible work. All right. So if you go here on Thursday, and click there. It'll take you straight to the Zoom meeting. All right? So bam, there you go. I hope everybody enjoyed. Look, we're on time today. Okay, I didn't go over. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this session. This class session of Academic Wave, What's Smart is the New Cool, Social Studies, the fundamentals we're learning here, not only to read the word, but to read the world. And remember that self-education is the best education. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. This was a great participation in the class. Go ahead, before you leave out, if you can hit the like button, even if you like to subscribe, and definitely leave some comments, thumbs up, emoji, fire emoji, anything you'd like to leave, man. Y'all are inspiring me more than y'all even know. I appreciate it. I can't wait till Thursday. Tomorrow's class, we're going to talk about how to make connections, how to wrap this whole thing up so that Thursday you'll have something beautiful for us to see. I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace. I'd like to say thank you, Zoe, for joining us. Thank you, Kayla, for joining us. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Jaretta. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Lois. Who else did we have today? Thank you, Grayson. Thank you, Logan. There we go. Shania, thank you. Yeah, there we go. Amaris and the fam, we appreciate it, man. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Also, everybody that wasn't able to be in the chat room, thank y'all as well. I'll see you.